We interrupt your regularly scheduled Braves conversations to bring you this alert. Freddie Freeman is back and it's going to dominate everything. Welcome into Battery Power TV, Cory McCartney, along with Grant McAuley, looking like Big Boy and Andre 3000 here. The Braves have stayed hot. Dansby Swanson is on another planet right now. But this weekend with the Dodgers in Atlanta, everything, Grant, is revolving around Freddie Freeman.
It is. And I know that this is a story that Braves fans have grappled with for months, if not the last year or two, to figure out how this saga was going to end. And of course, we already know what the chapter is, what the resolution to Freddie Freeman's extension or lack thereof was, and all of the things that led to him becoming a Los Angeles Dodger, which, of course, was because Matt Olson became an Atlanta Brave. So we don't need to catch you up on what happened, and we don't need to tell you how to feel, because I feel like there's a lot of different reactions here. But by and large, I'm still expecting there to be an incredible positive reaction to Freddie Freeman's return, just given what he accomplished in the city of Atlanta and for the Atlanta Braves franchise. There's so many things we can talk about when it comes to what his legacy is and what it's going to be. And there are still chapters to be written in his career, quite obviously. And I'm sure we're going to jump into all of that here on Battery Power TV.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get his World Series ring on Friday. I firmly expect, just as you do, that he's going to get a ridiculously loud reception. There's going to be a whole lot of number 5 jerseys. He plays visitor for the first time. I know there's been some discussion about whether he might actually get booed. I just don't see that happening. But, maybe as the series goes on, it kind of trickles in a little bit. But at least that first at bat, and of course, the ring ceremony, all that he gave the fan base, an NL MVP, All-Star game, Silver Sluggers, a Gold Glove, and of course, a championship. I mean, that's going to be what truly matters when Freddie Freeman first takes that field at Truist Park.
It truly should be. I mean, how many Braves fans have longed and waited for the time in which Atlanta would win another World Series? He went 25 years between the 1995 club and then ultimately, we can call it 26th year, you won a championship for the first time in a quarter century. And Freddie Freeman was the face of the franchise for a decade. He was the figurehead of that club and many other clubs. And what he gave this team, I don't think you could really argue, was everything that he had out on the field every single day. And, love him or hate him for different reasons and stylistic choices and whatever it may be, like that's fine. There's a little something in sports for everybody, but I do expect this reaction, at least in the initial stages, to be largely positive, because this, I think, is about a reflection point on the accomplishments that he had in that Braves uniform for the nearly 11 seasons that he was here. Now, going forward, yeah, he's wearing a Dodgers uniform, and you're not going to cheer for that team on the front of the chest. You might cheer for the man whose name is on the back of the jersey, but then again, you might not, and that's okay, because that's sports, and you paid for your ticket, and you're allowed to cheer or boo whoever you want, whenever you want, for whatever your criteria is. Will I disagree? Cory, will you disagree or agree? I don't know. That's just kind of the fun and the debate of the passion that sports brings us. But by and large, if we want to really just kind of look at this from the 30,000-foot view, Freddie Freeman had an incredible run in Atlanta. It led to a championship. It led to personal accomplishments. It led to the team going from a complete rebuild to one that is now perennially a National League powerhouse again. And he played a big role in that. And I think that should be at the forefront of what's on the mind of him, of the club, of the fans in the initial, reaction to Freddie as he gets that World Series ring in particular. And then maybe that first at bat. If he starts hurting the Braves with what he does at the plate, then I imagine we will see a transition to a very different reception.
Hey, he could have gotten his ring when the Braves went out to LA. He wanted this in front of this fan base. So you cannot forget that this is a moment he wanted to share with those fans that cheered him for so long. Yeah. Moving on from a guy who won an MVP to a guy who's been playing like one. Dansby Swanson could not have drawn this up any better. He's the Braves leader with 3.4 Fangraph WAR right now, which, by the way, has him on pace to break the Atlanta era record by a shortstop held by Jeff Blauser. And since May 24th, there's been no more valuable hitter in the game at 2.3 WAR in that span. He's been the game's best shortstop in that run in a number of categories, including weighted run created plus. I went deep into this last week in my starting 9 column Battery Power, but he has elevated his game in so many ways. There's a lot of red on his StatCast page when you start looking at those yearly rate increases. He's having a career year. Free agency is looming, and it's the perfect storm for the former number 1 pick, Grant.
No, it certainly is. I mean, and just putting the payday aside and focusing on what you alluded to, which is the incredible production that Dansby Swanson has given the Atlanta Braves this year. I mean, just think about where he is among all National League and all Major League shortstops this year. He is at or near the top of just about every meaningful leaderboard that you can be at or near the top of. He's hitting 300 later in a season than he ever has in his big league career. And not only is he doing that, but he's been even hotter since about the third week of April, when after the cold start, he flipped a switch. He's turned it on, and he's been the Braves MVP all season long. He's on pace to bat 300, to hit 25 homers, to steal 25 bases, to knock in 90 runs, to score in 100 more, to play Gold Glove caliber defense, and perhaps be an 8 or 9 win player when you really start to extrapolate these numbers out. And again, that's all on pace, but this is a pace of which Dansby Swanson has never seen nor never played at this level before, and he's doing it for a sustained amount of time. Corey, we're not talking about, hey, remember when Dansby got hot for a couple of weeks, and then remember when he got cold for 3 weeks after that, and then he got hot again for a week and then cold? It hasn't been that peaks and valleys thing, and we talked about this way before the season. Is there another level to Dansby Swanson's game? And we have found out over the first 3 months of this season, the answer is yes.
One of the most impressive parts to his season for me is that he's hitting the ball to the opposite field at the highest rate of his career. He has the most extra base hits to right, the highest rate of his career. It wasn't that long ago where he was talking about, oh, I just got my first home run to right. And now those just become so much more commonplace for him. The hard hit rate's up nearly 4% year over year to 46.2. It's just, again, you can go and dive into so many different peripherals with him that have just risen. But man, this just could not have come at an absolute better time for Dansby Swanson than this year, and him obviously having free agency looming. Coming off a series win over the Giants, the Braves continue a tough stretch of 10 games as they welcome in Freeman and the Dodgers. No Mookie Betts. He's out with a cracked rib. The rotation has its question marks down Walker Buehler, but this is still a loaded roster. It's the NL leaders in lineup war, number 3 in pitching war, and Tony Gonsolin leads the league in ERA right now. The Braves will see Gonsolin on Sunday, and this has an unquestioned playoff feel to it.
It really does. And every time these two clubs meet, we know, given the history dating all the way back to 2018, this is kind of a playoff preview, because it's where both clubs want to be when they get to October. And for the Braves, for so long, the road to the World Series went through Los Angeles. They cracked through that glass ceiling last year. They won it all. I'm sure the Dodgers haven't forgotten about that. And the Dodgers, they came back from a 3-1 deficit in the NLCS in 2020 to win it all. And they cracked through a glass ceiling that they had not been able to get through since 1988 in terms of World Series. So there are implications for both of these clubs built largely on the last couple of years. But if you look at the 2022 season, the Dodgers are who we thought they are. And without Mookie Betts, or with Mookie Betts, obviously they're better with him, they're still an incredibly dangerous team. Freddie Freeman is heated up. He absolutely torched the Cincinnati Reds in the series coming in. But the Braves, meanwhile, just took 3 out of 4 from the San Francisco Giants, and they did so in dramatic fashion. They did so in I feel like a consistent and persistent fashion that they have played all month long in June, with multiple guys stepping up on different nights to make this truly the team that they expected to be when the season began. So you've got a couple of clubs that are heading in the right direction. The Dodgers, they didn't have to walk through the valley of April and May like the Braves did, but as we turn here into the month of June, with July right in the offing and the All-Star break right around the corner, I think both these clubs are where we expected them to be. And playoff preview every single time they lock up. And I don't know, I kind of long for the days when the only thing we knew about Tony Gonsolin, or the thing we knew him best for, was his crazy shoes with cat pelts on them. But this guy, he's been all business this year. No jokes about the results that he's had this year. Now, the Braves are going to have a chance to throw Ian Anderson. They're going to have a chance to throw Max Fried and Spencer Strider at this club. It's going to be interesting to see. It's a big test, obviously, for Strider. For Fried, every time he lines it up against the Dodgers, I think there's an extra level to his game, an extra added weight of importance for a kid that grew up idolizing Sandy Koufax and attending plenty of games at Dodger Stadium.
Well, Braves hitters have a 387 OPS against Gonsolin in the regular season. They have a 360 against Julio Urias, who will start on Friday. They've had a little bit more success against Saturday's starter Andrew Haney at 746. But against that entire Dodger staff, Ronald Acuna Jr. has an OPS of over 1,000. He's gone deep against 4 of the guys in that bullpen, including the most utilized reliever in Tyler Anderson. It's easy to say to look for big things from the best player in the Braves uniform, but I think in this series, you need to look for big things for the best player in a Braves uniform. You mentioned Max Fried, Grant. Is there anybody else that you're focused on in this series?
Well, I think I would love to see Ronald Acuna Jr. really start to put it all together in multiple games in terms of his production. I know it's been kind of a light couple of 3 weeks for him. He's not knocking in a lot of runs, not hitting a ton of home runs, though he hit one against the Giants. It was an absolute rocket, and that was part of a 3-hit night for him. He did get the day off in the finale against San Francisco, and that's the first one of those he had in quite some time. So I feel like little by little, Ronald Acuna Jr. has gotten himself reset and gotten himself refixed at the top of the order, exactly where the Braves need him on a nightly basis. And his hard hit rates are right there all month long. And that leads me to believe that those hits are going to be coming for him if he continues to hit the ball at the rate that he has been. But, obviously the eyes are on Freddie Freeman. So on the flip side of that coin, could this be a series where Matt Olson kind of steals the show? I think that would be quite a storyline here. And I got a chance to catch up with Kenley Jansen on Friday, and I know that he's looking forward to the opportunity to do what he can against his former club to help the Braves win this series. So there are a lot of storylines here between these two teams, none bigger than the return of Freddie Freeman. But when it comes down to it, once the ring has been handed out and once the first pitch of the first game is thrown, it's all business between these two clubs, and only one team can win on a given night, and only one team's going to win this 3-game series.
Well, after the Dodgers, there is no let up with a trip to the Phillies to follow. We'll have it all covered here on Battery Power TV. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so you get an alert each and every time we drop a new episode. Also, be sure to catch us on Sunday nights on From the Diamond on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Till next time, I'm Cory McCartney. He's Grant McAuley. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon, Braves Country.